When my great-aunt Margot died, she left behind an enormous, crumbling Victorian manor in the countryside. The inheritance was unexpected. I barely remembered the woman. I had only met her once as a child, during a tense family dinner where she stared at me with wide, misty eyes and said, "You're just like her." No one ever told me who her was. Still, the manor was mine now. I decided to take a sabbatical from my exhausting city job and spend the summer restoring the house. It felt like a chance to reconnect with some unknown piece of myself. The first few days passed in quiet labor. Dusting, clearing cobwebs, and opening ancient windows that hadn't tasted air in decades. The house was strangely preserved. Furniture sat beneath sheets like sleeping ghosts, and the air had a perfume of lavender and decay. It wasn't until the sixth night that I found the attic. Behind a bookshelf in the upstairs study was a narrow staircase, hidden and coated in dust. The door at the top creaked open like a groan from the house itself. Inside was a room trapped in shadow. Even during the day, moonlight barely touched its corners, and the single bulb overhead flickered whenever I pulled the chain. The only object inside was a mirror. Tall, arched, framed in black and gold, its surface was rippled slightly, like water held in glass. I shivered. I didn't recognize the feeling at first. Not fear, exactly. It was more like being watched, judged. My own reflection stared back at me, but there was something wrong with it. The angle, the lighting. I wasn't sure. I told myself it was just the mood of the house, the atmosphere. But that night, as I lay in bed with wind whispering through the walls, I dreamt of the mirror. In my dream, I stood before it again. My reflection smiled when I didn't. It raised its hand when mine stayed still. Then it whispered, "You're almost ready." I woke up covered in sweat, breath ragged, sheets tangled like vines around my limbs. I screamed into the darkness, and no one answered. The days blurred after that. I felt myself becoming more drawn to the attic. Each morning I'd say, "I won't go today." But by noon I found myself climbing the stairs, heart pounding as I stepped into the dark. The mirror never moved. But my reflection grew stranger. More confident. More alive. It would tilt its head when I frowned, raise an eyebrow when I cried. One afternoon, I brought a cloth to cover the mirror. As I lifted my arms, my reflection remained still, glaring at me with such intensity that my breath caught in my throat. I dropped the cloth and stumbled backward. The light bulb above me flickered. Then it blew out. The attic plunged into darkness, and for a moment, I felt something cold brush against my back. That night, I didn't dream. I woke in the attic. But the room was wrong. The air was thick and wet, and everything seemed to hum with a low vibration. The mirror glowed faintly, casting a silver light across the floor. My reflection was gone. In its place stood a woman with my face, but her eyes were pitch black. She was dressed in old-fashioned clothes, something Victorian. And she smiled with a mouth full of sharp, yellowed teeth. "You've opened the door," she said, voice echoing. "You should not have come back." I turned to flee, but the door behind me was gone. Only walls now, cold and pulsing. When I turned back, the woman was inside the glass again, whispering. I jerked awake in bed, gasping, heart clawing at my chest like it wanted to escape. I rushed to the attic. The mirror stood where it always had. But this time, my reflection wore a different shirt. One I hadn't put on. The following week was madness. I stopped leaving the house. My food spoiled. I didn't sleep. I watched the mirror. Studied it. Left audio recorders, video cameras. But none of them captured anything unusual. Only me. Looking. Staring. Sometimes my reflection disappeared entirely. Sometimes it wasn't my reflection at all. I began to remember things I never lived. A garden with red poppies. A storm that took a roof off. A man with a twisted cane and no eyes. Dreams. Memories. I didn't know anymore. On the 22nd night, I found a journal hidden beneath the floorboards. Leather-bound. Brittle pages. It belonged to someone named Lillian. The entries were frantic. The mirror shows her again. She walks when I don't. She's learning. She's stronger now. Soon she will try to take me. Another. I covered it. Burned it. Smashed it. It always comes back. She's part of the house now. The final entry. If I disappear, she has won. If someone finds this, don't look. Don't see her. She's not you. I stared at the mirror for a long time after reading that. I whispered, "Who are you?" The reflection answered, "The better you. The first you. The only you that matters." I ran. I didn't pack. I didn't breathe. I just ran, barefoot and bleeding, down the gravel drive, the manor looming behind me like a grieving widow. I booked a hotel in town and promised myself I'd never go back. But that night, in the hotel bathroom, I saw the same mirror behind me in the fogged glass. It had followed me. The reflection leaned in. "There is no leaving. You brought me out." I smashed the mirror with a lamp, screaming. The shards cut deep into my hands, but none of them showed my face. Only the woman, smiling. I returned to the manor. It was the only place the mirror felt contained. The only place it made sense. Or maybe I was already hers. I boarded up the attic, locked it, painted over the seams. But at night, the whispers came through the walls, calling my name in dozens of voices. All mine. All versions of me. I no longer knew when I was awake, or which version of myself had woken. One morning, my reflection was waiting downstairs, standing in the hallway mirror, smiling. "You're tired," it said. "Let me take over. You can rest." And I, eyes hollow and mind frayed, whispered, "Okay." But I didn't rest. I was pulled inward, into the glass, trapped in the border between moments, a prisoner behind the silver. I see her now, wearing my skin, living my days, laughing in my voice. Sometimes she forgets to pretend. Sometimes, when the light hits the glass just right, you can see me, not her, me. If you're reading this, stay out of the attic. Stay away from your reflection when you're alone. Because once she sees you, she never forgets. And once she's free, you never will be again.